Honest J. Nowak. Oh yeah.
A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Honest J. Nowak and Flying with the Foam. So flying with the foam, of course, is still an ongoing thing going on in HJN history. Yep, it is. But of course, we shouldn't really have to fret now because, after all, I'm already a fraction of the way through this entire thing. The Legacy of Supers, of course, was one really big thing that I put together for HJN, but this one here, Flying with the Foam, which is probably going to be progressing all the way through the remainder of winter here in 2021 before the next equinox comes up. So, of course, that's going to be a pretty big deal for me. Today's review is in fact going to be another modular base blaster. But in this case, it's just called Modulus. As you can see on the side here, Modulus, not Modular. This is the Stockshot. And I gotta say, at the time this was in fact one of the oldest blasters that I've had in my collection, based on today's standards. Of course, I've had some of the oldest blasters to date, going way further back from here, but of course, we shouldn't forget that I've really been taking charge in terms of how the whole entire thing goes. This is in fact, well, one of the oldest that I've had so far, because if you probably hadn't noticed on things like my Instagram or Twitter, Mastodon, or WhatsApp, then you might have noticed that, well, at one point I uploaded a picture to each of those platforms that showed only 6 blasters in my collection. This was one of them, along with the Barrel Strike, Glow Shot, Persuader, Falcon Fire, and the Gripper. Those were the only blasters I had in my collection that were basically from 2016 to the present. Essentially, that's what my collection is pretty much going to right now, as a drastic update that I brought along to it. But the Stockshot here, quite honestly, being that it was one of the first ever parts of my new collection here, which spans from 2016 up until today, and it may go even further than that, you never really know. Whoopsie. That never should have happened, but of course, it's a common problem sometimes. And it just happened again. Well, you know what? Whatever. So, of course, I can't really stress this enough. This is in fact a blaster that pretty much doubles as a stock. I don't really see why though, because maybe a good way for me to handle it is like this. If I wanted to use this as both a blaster and a stock at the same time, because a stock is just really short. I don't really know why they made that design call, but that's probably because you can actually put this on another blaster that has a stock adapter and put into it. That's what this part is for. And of course, it can extend out to the length that you desire, or what's most comfortable for you. But for me in particular, I tend to use a lot of my Modulus blasters as standalone ones. Ones that basically double as blasters, and there are in fact a lot of them, even to this day. But of course, the Modulus lineup has kind of been lacking in the last year or so, and maybe 2 years, as a matter of fact. The only newest blaster that we've had in the Modulus lineup so far was the Tracker ECS-10. And that was basically like a reskin of the original Modulus ECN-10 blaster from 2015. But unfortunately, it was more of an international sort of thing out there because of how expensive it is to find on eBay. So that's just one way to look at it. But the Modulus Stockshot, I'd say, it does a pretty decent job. It's got a nice priming rod sort of action, which is very common in a lot of blasters that are not big enough to have a suitable firing mechanism that can be made by a pump or a bolt or something else in particular, or even a slide on the top, like the Maverick Rev 6 and onwards. The Stockshot, of course, just has itself a classic priming rod that goes on the bottom and then locks into place until you pull the trigger, like that. And yeah, that's basically what that is. Of course, it can attach to the bottom of blasters, but I unfortunately do not have a core blaster with me that'll allow me to perform this feat. But we surely can't forget that the Stockshot is probably a bit more than just that. It has 4 barrels, of course, and a smart AR system. But again, it's a common problem that some darts just don't go in all the way, probably because of, well, leftover air pressure that could be within the chamber itself. But I'm not really complaining about it because, I mean, the modulus lineup could do a whole lot better than just make a little attachment of some sort that can double as a blaster. It's very convenient, pretty much, to have a backup of some sort, but I can't necessarily say for sure that it is in fact supposed to be a real convenient idea. As I've said before, if I wanted to use it as a stock and a blaster at the same time, I'd have to hold it with my left hand and then brace it against my right shoulder like this, which is a bit awkward in all honesty. But nonetheless, at least I got this one out of the way. It's not a bad blaster, but it might need a little bit of tuning here and there, because even while it is in fact equipped as a stock, it still can get a little jittery and somewhat flimsy. Probably because of how thin the plastic is between, well, both ends of it. Well, anyways, that's all for now here in Flying with the Foam in HJN. But if you want to see more, go down to my channel. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.